Hey, ass kickers, it's me, Amanda, and I just wanted to pop in here and leave you your final video about overwhelm. And if you hear any hammering, that's because there's someone hammering next door, and that's all right. Um, but hopefully, it doesn't affect you or bother you too much. And if you are feeling overwhelmed by that or anything else, I got you. We can talk about it. So today I just wanted to be a recap about what we've gone through this whole last month in regards to overwhelm. So, first, recognize that it is an option. It is actually a feeling, and it's one that I would say is indulgent and it doesn't serve you. So, anytime you can catch yourself feeling overwhelmed, reassure yourself by knowing that it is not actually happening to you. It is not a fact of your life. It is not that you just have a life that is inherently more overwhelming than others. Overwhelm is not a fact. It's not a circumstance. It's not a situation. It's a feeling. Pardon. It's a feeling caused by your thoughts. So that was the next thing we talked about. We talked about when you catch that feeling, when you start to feel that happening, get really curious about what you're thinking and start to practice becoming more aware of the specific thoughts that lead to you feeling overwhelmed and learn how to actively change those thoughts. So then the next video we talked about what are some of the thoughts that cause overwhelm. A lot of it has to do with feeling like I don't know how to do all this or it's too much for me to do. Some overwhelm I think is caused by like what's the point? We get defeated. That's kind of a different feeling, but they're all sort of related, right? So, getting really curious about the thoughts and then practicing changing them. And then I also wanted to just say we talked a little bit about changing the circumstances where that's appropriate. So, our circumstances do not cause our feelings, but if you can change it to make it easier, like if you can get shit off of your to do list or ask for help or delegate something or say no to doing something, then by all means you should do that if it's going to clear space for you and make it easier for you to think the more positive thoughts. So that's really it. That's the thing is like take a look at your life, do what you can to make the circumstances more aligned to make things less overwhelming. This also includes situating and arranging your environment to be more calming, more organized. This involves taking actions like calendaring and scheduling and honoring your time in that way. But the best work that you can do around feeling overwhelmed is get super curious about what you're thinking and then practice changing it. And I say this all the time, and I'm going to say it again because I don't think I can say it enough, is we're not looking for just some superficial positive thought that you can start thinking like, oh, my life is totally manageable. Oh, this is fine. I got this. If that serves you to think I got this, that's one I use a lot. That's great. But that might be a little too like putting the positive thinking band-aid over something. So what I'd encourage you to do instead is once you've identified what thought is causing overwhelm in your life, and in your body and in your mind, then come up with the thought that's just a little bit better. It doesn't have to be the rainbows and sprinkles one. It can be one that's just like, you know what, this is a lot, but I've done hard things before and I can do this too. It's gonna feel kind of underwhelming at first when you look at it. It's not a sexy thought that you want to like embroider on a pillow necessarily, but if it's just a little better than what you were thinking, that's a step in the right direction. And then once you practice that one more and that becomes your default thought, then you move on to one that feels even better. Until one day you are thinking like, oh, this is so easy. I live my life. I got this. And you actually mean it. That's what we're after here is finding thoughts that feel better, that you actually believe and buy into, not just some like sparkly, wishful thinking Pollyanna thought that you're going to slap over the negative thinking. We don't do that in these parts, okay? And then lastly, I just want to offer like, much as I say like our circumstances don't cause our feelings, I also don't really get in line with the whole acting our way out of a feeling. So there is room for that, I think, but you'll notice that if you're taking an action that makes you feel better, it's actually triggering a thought that makes you feel better. So in a lot of similar to how we can arrange our situation, our circumstances to make it easier to think more positive thoughts, we can take actions that kind of trigger those positive thoughts as well. So I just want to kind of set that out there before I start telling you about actions you can take to deal with overwhelm, because too often I see people trying to jump right into action to sort of effort their way out of a feeling, and that's not the answer either. But a lot of overwhelm is caused by like being frozen and in fear and indecision and not knowing which action to take, or just feeling like there's 50 things we need to do and we just kind of stall and freeze and not know which one. And in that situation, I would say that just taking any action is going to be super helpful, even if it's something unconnected to the project, even if it's something to do over here in your house, or do your dishes, or do something with your kid, or get in service of someone else. There is something to that, like getting out of your own inertia and acting. You start to give yourself a task and realize, okay, this is what I'm doing now. I just have to finish this and then I'll figure out the next right thing. Or you can get some clarity. When you jump into action, you start to see like, oh, this isn't quite actually the next thing. What I realize is I need to back up a little bit and do this thing first. So taking action can lead to clarity, but again, that really has to do with it's triggering thoughts that serve you. And so that's kind of one of the only times that I say use action to change how you feel. It's still your thoughts cause your feelings, fuel your actions, but when you jump into a certain action, that can trigger very specific thoughts that will help move you forward. The other benefit of jumping into action, especially out of overwhelm, is because you start to build some confidence in yourself. Like if you're overwhelmed and you're frozen and you're stuck and you're not doing anything, then you're also going to start layering shame and like thinking thoughts like, what's wrong with me? And then that's super overwhelming too. But if you can get into action, get kicking ass even with one foot to start, then you start to have some more confidence in yourself and you're like, okay, I'm doing this. And you start to get some momentum and you start to trust yourself again. And you start to see like, here's where I need to go next. And then you go from there. So as always, if you have any questions or if this resonated with you and you want to know more about working with me and coaching with me, then by all means, shoot me a message and let's set up a free consultation call where I can lay out an actual plan for you about how to get from where you are now, which is stuck, to where you want to be, which is awesome and kicking ass with both feet and having the life of your wildest heckin' dreams. To do that, shoot me an email at kickasswithbothfeet@gmail.com. I would love to hear from you. Again, that call is totally free. It's an hour where I am just focused on you, listening to you, figuring out how I could help and serve you. And then lastly, make sure you show up for Tuesday's video. Sorry, I did not record this last Tuesday. Oh my God. But there's changes afoot, good changes that I'm excited about, and I will tell you more about them on Tuesday. So thanks for being here, and let me know how you're coping and moving through your overwhelm and share what's working for you. And I will see you next time. Have an amazing weekend. Bye-bye.